please get all the details of the vehicle. We have a system to track that number of the vehicle. Where was it? Who was given the vehicle in the morning? Or who was driving that vehicle? And we'll take necessary action. Sabelo from Isolezwe. To my knowledge, there are 2 cases. Am I right?
Yeah.
There are 2 cases. One is that of the Mayoran mansion. By the way, it's just 500 meters away from where we are. Mr. Gina can show you. It's just here, next to Bayshore. In the morning, probably you'll see it. Is that house? And the second case is a case that relates to Escalene Fitness Center. Escalene Fitness Center, those who knows Escalene, there is a total garage there. It used to be called a garage Wamzonele. There was a sports field there. So this project is a multi-year project with a budget of more than 300 million rand. We are counter-funding the project with the Department of Sports and Recreation and us as the state. So in the last financial year, this project actually started. 16 million rand was set aside. And upon issues when service providers and some employees, laborers, were embarking on an industrial cha-cha-cha that they were not paid, the city then paid. The paid more attention to it. And we found that no, something was going wrong in the project. And there was an investigation that was done, which discovered that out of the 16 million rand, 11 million rand had been used, but on site, there is only 5 million rand. You can't find 6 million rand. In other words, there were monies claimed for things that are not there. The has opened cases. Perhaps I will give him a chance to tell us at what stage are the cases, whether they've been referred to Hawks and all that. You'll be able to allude on that. But I know that there are cases opened. What happens to the companies? The law is very clear. That if the companies are found to have breached their contracts, they must be banned from being service providers of the municipality, or rather trading with the municipality. So once all processes have been finalized, this capable administrative leadership will then act within the parameters of the law. Although I'm not quoting the correct, law, but I know that it says exactly what I'm saying. That where those ones have been involved in such things, they can't continue to trade with the municipality. And they must be sent to a certain register so that everybody knows that trade with this one at your own risk. Time frames. Well, I can't give time frames. Safe to say that we want these cases to be quickly finalized. So that we also move on. We are not a leadership that must deal with investigations. Our duty is to service our people, not to deal with mistakes and correct mistakes and all that, or rather even complain and say, no, we found this, these ones did that. We are current leadership. We must move on and account for the work which we are actually doing. Mr. Zingume actually asked a question which I requested, whether the speaker or councillor Botha to actually respond on it, not because I don't have the answer, because when those things happened, remember, I was not on this chair as the mayor, but I was a member of parliament and the leader of the party in this area. So I have some of the information, but I'm not here also to share little information about issues, nor even intend misleading our people as we report to them. So it's better that I request the speaker for Councillor Botha to deal with this issue. Question 4.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I think, to my knowledge, the was tabled before council for discussion. And as in patches, we're not happy about the findings. And what we have demanded is that disciplinary actions be taken against those who were indicated. And we also requested that the matter be referred back for further investigation. I don't know, as new leadership, we did not actually requested the mayor, the manager, to really look at the matter. That's what we know as far as the investigation. I don't know whether I can ask them something further.
No, I agree with you, Mr. Speaker.
Okay.
Well, what we can always say is that, you know, as we speak, there are workers which are on overtime. But in trying to prevent what used to happen, that 10 million rand overtime saga, in making sure that that issue is prevented in the future, I don't think it is law for somebody to just go on overtime without being approved. So what administration should do is that before somebody can go on overtime, must get approval first from the supervisor, because some issues to the investigation indicated, for instance, that there was no proper records of whether, as Mr. Ngwezi claimed for overtime, there was approval on such things. So probably some of the overtime, claims were actually invalid. But unfortunately, things were treated the way they were treated. And this is just a caution going forward, which I think as an experienced municipal manager, having been an for more than 8 years, I think that is law. And in trying to, protect the money of council and taxpayers, so I think that maybe that is how it should actually happen. So you have heard the report was tabled, but not to the satisfactory of councillors. The unfortunate part is that, if you are a minority in the council, once item has been approved, it will be difficult to bring them back in council for discussion, except for purposes of, or where, for instances where you can take matters to court, right to the public protector, if it's not suspended, right to him or her, and then for further actioning on the matter. So yeah, I just thought maybe I should respond that way. Oh, the MM wants to also add something to what we've said on these 4 questions.
Right. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much. I've been introduced as Gosenye Zulu. I want to start by saying that in terms of governance, as well as how the administration functions on the overall, I want to unequivocally state that we are operating clean governance. The mere fact that there are certain individuals who are currently appearing before disciplinary hearings talks to the fact that generally the municipality is loath to maladministration as well as corruption. The point that I'm trying to drive home is that we are looking forward to a clean audit. We are currently being audited by the Auditor General along with all other municipalities. And we are looking forward to a clean audit. What is important is that whenever there is maladministration, you deal with it, and you deal with it decisively. And that is what we are doing as a collective. I also want to comment, because the gentleman also invited me in regards to the question of how far these disciplinary hearings are. It's very, very difficult, to give a concise answer, because we are dealing with several matters, some of which are historical. In fact, some of the matters we inherited as this administration, some have been initiated, as we went along. I think the mayor has spoken to the most important two matters. But I also want to point out, because I have a responsibility as the accounting officer in terms of Section 60 and 61 of the Municipal Finance Management Act, number 56 of 2003, to say that as the administration, we pay tribute to the current mayor and the current leadership. I'm talking about a collective. That a mayoral house that consumed close to 18 million rand of taxpayers' money, that particular project, notwithstanding the problems that the mayor has spoken about, which have led to a criminal investigation being pursued by the Hawks, that project was discarded at the instance of this mayor, who said he has a house of his own. He's not going to occupy a property that is valued at close to 18 million rand of taxpayers' money, while there are issues relating to service delivery that should be prioritized. I also want to report that council has since resolved to sell that house. The house was built by the previous administration. When I came to office in March, I realized that, as the mayor has indicated, some funds were siphoned. So then I went straight to the police and reported the matter. Currently, the matter is being investigated by the Hawks. Just to be precise on the question of what happens to contractors as well as service providers who are alleged to be colluding with certain staff members who are currently on suspension. Those companies, in terms of the MFMA, cannot do business, not just with the city of Umhlathuze. They are not allowed to do business with any municipality and any state entity, because they are alleged to have performed a criminal act against the society of South Africa, whose funds we manage as a municipality. So we have reported them to Treasury. We have blacklisted them. They are not going to do business with state entities anytime soon, unless perhaps they are vindicated when these matters are finalized. Regarding the issue of overtime, overtime is a problem, because when management does not perform strict supervision over employees, employees will just loaf about during the day, and then after working hours, that is where you'll find them being diligent, because they know that it's overtime. Now, as a collective in the administration, we have a responsibility to ensure that that is corrected. Unfortunately, it takes a combined effort, because as an accounting officer, you do not have eyes everywhere simultaneously. And indeed, I do want to say that while certain departments are doing well without pointing fingers, there are certain departments, for example, such as electrical and energy, where there are issues, where you'd find that more often than not, issues of problem in the electrical infrastructure should have been avoided had staff members who are engineers done what they are supposed to do in terms of what is incumbent upon them with regards to ensuring that there is continuity of supply of electricity. I think the mayor alluded to the fact that there were transformers that had to be replaced at an exorbitant fee. Again, the problem resides in the same department, which is a problem that has been inherited by this administration, where an infrastructure would just catch flames. A 40 million rand transformer would just burn, which is really unheard of. It only happens where you have engineers who do not know whether they are coming or going. I can say for certain, ladies and gentlemen, that we'll not waste time to deal decisively with such instances. And I must say, with regards to the latest matter that the mayor reported on, where, you know, as the newly employed deputy city manager who's responsible for infrastructure and technical services, as he was doing some sterling work in terms of ensuring that, you know, our area has got 34 wards. The area of Eskaleni, popularly known as Eskawini, has got 15 wards. Now, if you are failing to provide water to this area, it means we are doing a huge disservice. The problems are historical, but the gentleman that was appointed by this administration, Mr. Ngobo, who's now heading this particular department, was doing a sterling work, notwithstanding sabotage, acts of sabotage that the mayor reported on, to ensure that, you know, restrictions are lifted in the area so that people enjoy what they are supposed to enjoy in terms of Section 152 of the Constitution, which talks about objects of local government, most of which have to do with provision of sustainable service delivery to the people, the most important of which being water provision. Once again, a transformer just burned when even the mayor had visited the site about 2 weeks earlier. You know, and the mayor, not being an engineer and a technical person, reported to me and the line function department that there was a problem with the transformer because it was leaking oil. The reason why, ladies and gentlemen, I have to be specific about this is because the city is going to spend in excess of 21 million rand addressing a problem that should have been averted. Now, on my desk as we speak is the report that is going to go to council, which is going to report step by step as to what happened, as to what could have been done in order to avoid the loss of taxpayers' money through the fixing of the water treatment works, as well as usage of diesel engines over a period of 2 weeks, which is costly. Now, indeed, certain very, very drastic actions will have to be taken by this administration in order to correct that. Because these are public funds and they are there to be protected. We cannot have engineers who do not know whether they are coming or going when they have a responsibility to ensure that they are diligent, when they have a responsibility to ensure that the scarce resources of the public are used optimally. So there will be that kind of a report, and Mr. Gina here will be reporting about that. It will not mean that there is a crisis in the city. There's no crisis in the city. It will mean that the city is ridding itself of lackluster performance by some of its senior managers. Indeed, we are not going to mince words when it comes to dealing with officials who are not doing what they are employed to do. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thanks, colleagues. I think that was quite much.
Kwami nje kubili masipala ukhuluma ngokuthi meya masipala wakhele enzaweni uhlanganisa indzawo abantu abahlala emalokishini nenzawo abantu abahlala emakhaya lapha ke esigabeni semathuba emsebenzi kunenkinga yokuthi kubukeka umnyango wezemfundo ungayiphakameli phezulu endzaba yeqashwa kothisha bayafa tikhala tingabe tisavala etikoleni. So umbuzo wami usekuthenini kukhona mhlawumbe langakusho umeya noma ke bahlonishwa maqondzana nendaba yokuqasheka kwama-graduate lasuke ahleli emakhaya kulesikhathi samanje ngoba amathuba emisebenzi angekho. Bese umbuzo wami wesibili uthi kuthini kuphawula kwamasipala maqondzana nenkinga yebugebengu bantu la kungolezana sesibone kubiwa ukuthi bayaduthulwa bayafa etigamekweni etihlukahlukene. Ngiyabonga.
Thanks. Maybe Kamo was directing that first question to the mayor because the mayor is a former teacher. That's once a teacher, always a teacher. That back then was standing out of it. It was told and doing this.
Yeah.
Sometimes nazama ukukhuluma nabantu ngoba siyazi ukuthi Umhlathuze abantu abaningi abahlala khona baqashile emalokishini. Then igcina siyenza ukuthi uma uthatha imali ibone sehlehle ungena noma isithile noma ingena emalokishini. Kukhona mhlawumbe abahlanganisa nabantu abanabhizinisi nabantu abaqashi ukuthi bathola kanjani phakathi bese kwayo kuzoba indaba yokuvalwa kwama-potholes wabala ebangeni isikhawu ne-Richards Bay esalingolezane esalinseleni nedlangezo ukuthi indawo ezonakale kakhulu yinoma esazonakale ezinye. Bese ukuthi indaba ye-ground khulume ngesediyamu lesidlalwa kusona kunabafowethu ababekhala ngokuthi kulamanye ama-grounds abafuna ukutraina mhlawumbe basebenza abathize ngesikhathi setiye behambe beselanje beyotraina fanele beze bethole i-permit ethile abakwazi ukuthi kungeke abantu betraine emagrawundini fanele beze bethole i-permit ukuthi bafanele beyifune nsuku zonke yini mhlawumbe iba ngosuku olulodwa ukwazi ukutraina usuku olulodwa emejini usuku olufana ukwenza mhlawumbe khona nenye indlela ekungenzeka ngayo ebakumele ebese kuba ukugcina ubugebengu la emadolobheni wonke khona mhlawumbe okwenzakalayo njengoba sibona abantu bephuzayo i-public okugcina sikwenza amadolobha enyuka ukuthi abantu basebephuze bachama noma belahle ngokwamafondlela mhlawumbe khona ngama-bylaws ukuthi abantu bangaphuzi parking emadolobheni
mhlawumbe kucishe ukubuyela bebedinga one-on-one asemuphethu ngethemba ukuthi usekukhavile kokuningi ukuthi abekhona kodwa
ngibingelele ulangelihle Mpungose from Zulu FM. Bengicela ukubuza la incane nje ezinye zeyinkinga ezikhona vele la Umhlathuze nebezikhona before amanzi ogesi kunodaba la oluthela vele umphakathi othe ungowasemadala awunawo ugesi since May. Angazi mhlambe ukhona into esike yavela la kumasipala mhlambe noma isevisi yawo umasipala ayifinyelele emakhaya igcina edolobheni ngoba ngibheke mhlambe bawukuthi kuvulwa ogesi ngiyubona umasipala kwezinye ikhathi kwezinye indawo ungenele.
Thank you. Angibuyisele kumeya ke.
For the benefit of Councillor Botha, the last question is asking about the community of Madaga. Madaga is in Ward, part of Madaga is in Ward 16 and part of it is in Ward 13. Talking about electricity issues. And that area is under Inkosi Dube. Maybe to give you a precise answer, ukuthi la Umhlathuze ugesi sohlinzeka ngeindlela ezimbili kubantu bakithi. Endaweni ezamalokishi namadolobha bese kube yisemandlazini. Ugesi usupply yithina ngqo njengedolobha laseMhlathuze noma njengomkhandlu waseMhlathuze. Indawo oyibalayo ikakhulukazi le yaseMadaga neindawo ezingaphandle kwaseSikhaweni ngaphandle kwaseDlangezwa University of Zululand neVulindlela esupply ithina ugesi. Lezi zinye zonke indawo supply uEskom. So ke ugesi njengoba nje eSikhaweni thina sesalungisa indaba zama transformer saqhubeka nokufaka amanye. Yingakho abantu abaningi bengenazi inkinga. Kodwa lezi indawo ezisupply uEskom zizoba nazi inkinga zikagesi. Why zibe nenkinga zikagesi? Ukuthi isikhathi esiningi iplan kaEskom mayifaka ugesi ayihambisani neplan yamakhosi yokubeka abantu. As we speak, namhlanje njengoba bekumgqibela khona abantu abebebeka. Immediately umuntu abeka udinga amanzi udinga ugesi. uEskom uthatha isikhathi eside ukuzokwenza lokho kuthiwa ama-infills. Abantu ngesikhathi befuna ugesi uvela udonsela kwamakhelwane. Uthola ukuthi i-transformer efakwe lapho yayidalela ukuthi izokhetharisha imizi mhlambe ewu-500. Sekunabantu within 1 year ababekiwe abanye abawu-200. Kusho isidlulile manje iyonke le transformer idlulile ku-500 isiwu-700 izosindwa bese yaqhuma. Ma kufonela uEskom Mdakaza zolungisa athi asenzeni i-audit. I-audit will reveal ukuthi kunabantu abantshontsha ini ugesi. And then uEskom besenza njani? Let us disconnecting. Lawa bentshontsha ugesi must pay 6,000 rand or whatever, 6.5 or 12,000 rand or whatever the amount. Bese uthola ukuthi ke manje sekune clash ke kwi-community kuhlala isikhathi sithi community ngenawo ugesi. But the biggest question, njengandaba esekuyona eWard 12 izolo, there is a community somlomo elapha ngaselakhizi supermarket lapha eWard 12. There is a community efana naleyo. I think now banesikhathi singango 2 months bengenawo ugesi now. But what is the reason? Is this reason I'm talking about? Uthi abantu bakithi ugesi bayawurobha noma bayixhumele ngendlela okungeyona bese uthola ukuthi uEskom akezi ngesikhathi ukuzorectify ukuze abaxhumele ngendlela enjani ecorrect ngenxa yokuthi iplan yokubeka kohlaliswa kwabantu behlaliswa amakhosi nezindoni ayihambisani ne-financial budgeting ka-Eskom. In fact, this thing affects nathi odabeni lwamanzi because uthola ukuthi indawo besazi ukuthi ayikho imizi umhla udlula sekunemizi futhi abantu bakhala ukuthi amanzi awafiki ngakithi kade efike kodwa bawaconnect ngendlela enjani abangavumelanile ngayo nathi njengomasipala. La manzi uNational Treasury uthini kithi is a water loss, but it's not a water loss because thina masikufakela amanzi funa sikufakela imeter so that we account for the water esikunikeza wona. So umbuzo omkhulu ukuthi what is it that we are doing ngoba abantu the fact remains ukuthi ugesi abanawo njengoba le ndawo kungeyona yethu we can't budget for ukuyofaka kagesi kodwa kwethu uku-engage the client eli umhlali wethu nomvoti wethu thina Umhlathuze and Eskom ukuthi a resolve problem because labantu ugesi bawuthenga ku-Eskom thina ugesi osupply laba abantu bethu Eskom uthenga kithi. That's why thina ngaso sonke isikhathi njengedolobha fanele siqinisekise ukuthi ingqalasizinda yithi sesimeni ukuze uEskom abe sesimeni naye sokusupply abantu bakhe ngani ngogesi. But also ngicabanga ukuthi in the future enye yezinto ezoresolve lolu daba ukuthi cishe abakhona kwi-media space will know ukuthi inhlangano le yomasipala okuthiwa iSalga isiyathatha uEskom yawuyisa enkantolo ngoba udaba lokusabalaliswa kukagesi kubantu uEskom akakwazi ukusabalalisa ugesi ngokomthetho sisekelo in terms of the constitution of the republic. Eskom does not have a right to sell electricity in the municipal areas. It is municipalities ofanele badayisa ugesi. So there is that court battle which we think in the future inkantolo zizoyiresolve leyo matter so that ugesi mawukwazi ukubuya kithi wonke whether usemakhaya usendaweni yenkosi noma but mawungaphansi kwamasipala yithini as accountable, then we'll be able to say okay we take over infrastructure, we maintain the infrastructure, we supply, people sell. Ngoba thina la esidayisa khona ugesi sinikeza khona abantu asisho ukuthi ugesi awurojiwe but ilevel okurobha incane kakhulu. Endaweni zika Eskom inkulu kakhulu. Abahlala nje endaweni zika Eskom la abanye ngibabonayo mangake ngibavakashele ngithi asingene imizi nje emhlanje eduze kwakhe lokho ngekhona la ngeke ngikhombe khona makunesihlobo sakhe ngeke ngingenise kulowo muzi. So ngizama ukusho this is a reality esiphila nayo besides the fact that Eskom is not well managed, but some problems ka Eskom are created by our people because they are stealing their own thing. They don't understand that electricity, for the lights to go on, there must be money that is paid. For water to be clean, there must be money to clean water. I always talk about this when I talk to people around, even in the areas of Amakos, that in the city, people living in the rural areas, I will urge them one by one to pay for water. We will start with councillors who stays in the rural areas. They will pay for what, we'll put water meters. We'll come to the employees of the municipality who stays in the areas of Amakos. They will pay for what. We come to police, we come to nurses. Those ones understand that in the country, kushawe donta. Some of you have got salaries here. Ukuze ingane zithola ama grants ngoba zinama issues nokuthi azondle kahle is because you pay tax. So the system of this country is that when osebenzayo you provide the one who does not have. The haves provides the ones that does not have. So even in the rural areas, those who don't have means to pay for water, at least they will get in the indigent register. We're able to account for that water, that no, it's not a water loss. We're cleaning 500 million liters a month and 100 million liters of water. We are giving it to indigent people. National Treasury will even add budget to allocate for that. But for now, they can't because we can't account for that water because we have no water meters. Same thing applies with electricity. It's the same problem. babugama sithini ngendaba zokungaqasheki kwabantu abaqedile ezikoleni. Kodwa ubesiwenza ke i-reference ngothisha. It is true ukuthi kule district nje sikuyo ngiseyilungu leParliament ngangenza ucwaningo ukuthi bangaki othisha abanamajazi abahleze emakhaya. Ngathola ukuthi at that time 3 years ago they were 800 just here in the King Cetshwayo district. They've got degrees, they are seated at home. I've never done investigation ukuthi abasemhlathuze bangaki. But generally, because I meet unemployed youth on daily basis, I know that baningi kakhulu. What is it that we are doing? Ukuze abantu bakwazi ukuqasheka. We have, for instance, in this report, spoken about Velma, Nyanza, and so on and so forth, which are located in the IDZ. Ama companies lawa ase investile already. Uvelma, for instance, will employ more than 300 people. Unyanza, for instance, will employ more than 150 people, just permanent jobs. We have of late, for instance, approved land for Komaza, Councillor Porter, which is going to, establish a company that side, Mosuyo Pumangala Umakona Matra Kulu, Mago Altin, somewhere there. Bazo establish a company lapo, Yama container, Ezo Kashabanti during construction, about plus minus 400 and permanent jobs, somewhere around 200. Basically, company sabens. As we fix infrastructure, make sure we have a stable grid of electricity, make sure we have stable water, make sure that we fix roads, fix robots, skill our people, right? Even if we can reskill the ones that has got degrees already. Because the other issue will be that even if we can go invite ama investors to invest, if our local graduates have got skills which mismatch with the investment coming, we have a problem. So part of it, which we think will be a solution going forward, is to say that it is easy to train a skilled person. Masingakuthatha nje babugama njengentatheli since sifuna ukutrain sikwenze senye into, it is easy because you are already trained. It's unlike omunye umuntu who has never been trained. So even the same graduates, I think the solution will be that going forward, if investment comes, investments must first declare what are the opportunities that are going to be available. We check, do we have skills? Do we have skilled people? Okuyothi makuphela le company ukwakhiwa kwayo ikwazi ukuthi absorbe laba bantu. If not, why don't we skill those people so that our people will not be spectators when companies go to Africa and the world to employ people? Then we complain with our companies, our baqasha abantu abalocal. But where possible, in the existing job opportunities, each time we get a chance to engage the CEOs of industries, we encourage them to recruit our local people. Because if you do that, you are growing the local economy. You are also giving us revenue as the city. Because some of these people stays in our areas, they buy electricity, they pay for water, rates and taxes and all that. So it's not something we're folding our arms, but we're addressing it. There is a program, for instance, which, never yielded fruits, where we wanted to have one meeting with all the CEOs of industries with unemployed graduates to say that don't talk about stats. What are you doing as the city? Here are unemployed graduates. What are you going to do about them? RPM. Here are unemployed, not statistics. Here are souls. Here are individuals. This one says, I've got this qualification. What are you going to do, RPM? What are you going to do, South 32? What are you going to do, Bell? What are you going to do, SPA? What are you going to... All of us. What are you going to do, Department of Education, Department of Health, and so on and so forth? Because it is in initiatives like those ones where we are not going to be theorists. Because the issue now of unemployment has gone past the theoretical part of it. It's a practical issue. If ngabuza nje gama, how many people do you have at home who are unemployed? You would probably tell me 6. I ask my sister here, he will tell me 10. I will ask the speaker here, he will tell me 4. I will ask Councillor Bota, he will tell me a number he knows. Myself, I will tell you 5 at home, which I'm going to be joining when I leave, by the way, here. They are unemployed. And this really requires us to be pragmatics, not theorists anymore. But we are pushing with that through the MM and the COO of the municipality to have this particular gathering actually sitting so that we address the issue of unemployment. And of late, many young people who are graduates, commit suicide. In my office, not now that I've not been in the office for at least a week, but if I'm in the office, I'll hear that a young man has committed suicide or a young lady has committed suicide. And you ask yourself, what was the problem? You would probably realize that it is out of depression, because if they say somebody has a qualification, is unemployed and all that. And, just like now, we have been given an opportunity, both as leaders, as MMs, and as media. We need perhaps one day to come up with proper solutions, because our kids are going to ask us difficult questions. My eldest son and daughter is 14 years. They are 14 years. In the next 10 years, they will be 24 years. They will probably have gone past university. If I don't do anything now, they will join the statistics of unemployed graduates. And when they ask me as the mayor, as their father, I will not be mayor then, maybe after 10 years. But they will say to me, Dad, you had an opportunity to contribute in building a future for us. What did you do? I don't want to do the meanders. I want to give a precise answer that this is what we did with the leadership which supported us at that particular time. These are the initiatives which we actually did. Water tankers, nokuthi kugcwele kakhulu imqasho. Yes, that is correct. Because Umhlathuze is an economic hub. There are a lot of people who have got, businesses related to, renting of houses or rather rooms and so on and so forth. And the difficult part of it is that some of those ones don't pay for water. They are making money with those houses, they don't pay for water. You go and put a meter, they will destroy that meter because they want to trade for free. The fact that one has got 20 houses or rather rooms, it means probably there are 20 toilets. And if that person is, for instance, at Madaga area, there is a 4-room house there in H2, Escalade. There is 1 toilet. 20 houses, which makes 20,000 rand a month, are actually subsidized by a 4-roomed house of a pensioner who stays in the township. The question is that fair? It is not. So these are the realities we must address. To say, just like I'm a mayor, for instance, can it be an excuse that because I stay in an area that is under Ingonyama Trust, under Inkosi Zungu or Inkosi Cebekul, I must not pay for water because I stay under Ingonyama Trust? So my water is paid for by Councillor Bota because he has a property in Merense. But I get paid more than Councillor Bota. That side, I own a 10-roomed house with 3 toilets. Councillor Bota has 1 toilet. They are 3 in that house. That side, we are 15. What does it mean? We use a lot of water, which we are not paying for. We are subsidized by Councillor Bota. That's why, for instance, in Durban, Mayor Kaunda actually said, no, all the areas which are under Ingonyama Trust must pay 180 rand of water. And there was grooming around that. You know why? It's because anybody, when he stays under the place of Ingonyama Trust, he thinks that he is poor. But the reality is that there are even more rich people who stays under the areas of Ingonyama Trust, richer than those who stays in the townships. That's the reality. We can go and show you, houses where when you get inside, for instance, you are not told that you must shoes off. You just see for yourself, you see that? You must shoes off. Unlike in the townships, it's a reality. So I'm not saying everybody who stays endaweni zamakhosi babugama kuzofanele akhokhela amanzi. Kodwa ngithi one, aba affordayo ukukhokhela amanzi must pay for. Two, abanga afford funa sibafakela ama meter ukuze sikwazi uku-accounta ngamanzi abawasebenzisayo. Ukuze phela uNational Treasury uzosubsidize ukuthi sinikeza abantu amanzi kanjani abahlwempu njengoba kwenzeka nakugesi emalokishini. Abantu aba indigent ugesi banogesi othile abawusebenzisayo ngoba phela uhlelo lolu you can't be, for instance, be in the indigent and enjoy benefits like a person who is not. Obviously there are disadvantages and advantages, but this government will not, for instance, allow people to die, to allow them not to have water because they are poor. We can't kill our people, but of course we must account for the water which we clean and for the money which we get from the National Treasury. Indaba zama water tankers, by the way, from November to 30 June, we bought 12 new water tankers because we wanted to reduce our privately owned water tankers. La okuthiwa kukholo ukulinyazwa infrastructure bakwenzela osibanibani ukuthi ba supply amanzi. Sifuna ukwa reduce ngoba uhlelo lokuhambisa amanzi ama water tankers lumbe eqolo. It's too costly for the municipality, can't afford it. That's why we are not sleeping. We are working tirelessly to ensure that our water infrastructure is sustainable, is resilient, can be trusted. And beside that, a water tanker, for instance, maybe is less than 200,000 liters. In a community where, for instance, you have 8,000 community members living in that ward, even that 200,000 liters is little just to supply one ward. So obviously that's why we have problems in supplying water with water tankers, because you find that when the water tanker drives there, one person will not hear the water tanker. One person is old, can't walk to the water tanker, or we communicate in the WhatsApp groups and social media that a water tanker is coming, is going to that street. There are people who are not in the social media. You see, like the elderly people. Those who can't see, how do we expect them to get water through the water tankers? Obviously, we are making life difficult for them. So that's why we are saying as this leadership, water tankering is a temporary solution if there is a problem. It can't be a permanent solution. It can't. We don't want to live like Oku district. Because those who stays, who knows south of Durban, water tankers, people have made millions of rands because of supplying water through water tankers and in some areas of the Eastern Cape. This side, we don't have crisis of water. Lake Tupu is around 70% full. We don't have an issue. Lake Nsezi, for instance, Nsezi River, there is enough water. That's why we'll be abstracting water from there to add the capacity in the pumping line to the forest reservoir. Nseleni River, for instance. So this side, we don't have a crisis. That's why we must fix our water infrastructure. And it will actually give us sleepless nights. If you fix the infrastructure, you get things right. You become a very good mayor, a very good electrical chairperson and service and energy services. You become a very good speaker. You sleep a very peaceful night, and a very peaceful night if infrastructure is right. Like these days, we are able to sleep. And when there's no water, everybody phones us. Media phones us, people phone us, you see, to the level where you are, depressed. And really, I'm saying, we are doing that because we are committed to it. It's actually something that we voted for to come and resolve. And I'm happy that amongst you, some people thought that the issue of infrastructure challenges and water were permanent issues which cannot, they had learned to live with it. No. Some few years it was not like that. And once we resolve this problem, we must begin to plan ahead. Because the same infrastructure which we fix and build now, in the next 15 or 20 years, it will no longer cope because people are born every day. People are multiplying. Therefore, infrastructure at some point, even going forward, will fail. Planning must happen just now. We must not wait until there is a crisis, like those who have waited for 15 years to reach to a crisis point of infrastructure. We must plan on time. The issue of the bylaws, I think your observation is true. That you drive, for instance, in the CBD, opposite your what we call your Standard Bank building, for instance, that area, their car wash, you'll find people drinking there, and so on and so forth. Which calls us as the city that we must enforce bylaws. But remember, in my report, I said that we are now 98, or rather 3 meters away, or 3 minutes away from appointing a deputy city manager, community services, because bylaws are there. Traffic and actually issues of security and law enforcement resides in the Department of Community Services. Because once the head has a problem, expect that everything, the stomach, the legs, the toes, everything will have a problem. Because it's not that we don't have staff there. I'm not by this suggesting that maybe there is a problem with the head, but because I've not done that investigation, it's just an observation. You see, to say that if you have got staff, if, for instance, your company, well established, it is paying you, they've got budget, everything, but your company is not making news, the owner of the company will say, no, I think I've got a problem with the people who are supposed to go and collect news. So it's the same thing with me. From my own personal and political observation is that once we finalize the appointment of a new deputy city manager, things are going to change. When we appointed this things changed. I doubt in the previous years, for instance, workers on a Saturday could come to work at this time. But because the vision, they've partnered now with the vision to say if you are serving government, at times you must, donate with your time, even if you won't get overtime. I don't know whether you will give them overtime,
They don't qualify.
But I'm trying to say the passion which they have allows us even to work on a Saturday in the evening. You see, in assisting us to get things going. So same thing applies with other staff members. Just like in infrastructure. Once we had the head doing the work, everybody else was doing the work. Even if there is a problem, the time it used to take to fix the problem has now at least been halved. If it used to take 2 months to fix water in Lake Cope, now it takes 7 days. And we don't have this issue, for instance, of actually allowing workers when there is a burst pipe or whatever. Councillor Bota will work at night. Go to Skaweni, go to Polaris, go to wherever there is a problem, and be there with workers, contractors, workers working. We do that as well. To give them moral support, to say we want this thing done. It's not that we are persecuting them. So leyo nje sizoyilungisa ngalokho ngoba hayi ukuthi asinabo abasebenzi. But also going forward, we are looking at the plans of actually capacitating the security part of it. Remember, the United Nations resolutions allows that cities must be safe, the safer city concept. We have already agreed with administration that here, if you are here in the city, you must feel safe and you must be safe. Through actually, maximizing, staff, maybe installation of modern technology equipment to assist where there have been criminal activities, to track what happened, assist subs and so on and so forth. So we're busy packaging that, and we don't have so much money to deal with that project. But we know private sector, for instance, has already came on board to say that once we establish this, we're there. In fact, South 32 has already partnered with us to approve the appointment of 4 traffic officers, six, which are going to assist us in managing traffic from South 32 across those roads where we have a tracking problem now. Through the assistance of this collective leadership, partnering with South 32 and the city to resolve that, they will be paying for those people. Ours is to manage, because law enforcement issues are state issues. So we'll only manage, they will put funding for that. They will even at a later stage build another road which will not delay their what we call their products when they want to be sent. So I'm saying the other thing we're doing is to partner with the private sector, even to develop the areas of Amakhosi. For instance, putting the tar roads in the areas of Amakhosi. When I presented this in one meeting, for instance, Mondi, for instance, came on board and said, Mayor, which road are you giving us? We can tar that 1 kilometer road in the areas of Amakhosi, because in the areas of Amakhosi, we're not sentenced that they will always have gravel roads. In fact, we must move with speed in addressing gravel roads in the areas of Amakhosi, because climate change is teaching us that you can re-gravel a road today. In the morning, you will have heavy rains. If you had spent 2 million rand re-graveling 5 kilometers of road today, in the next 12 hours, you don't have a road. You probably don't have budget to come back anytime soon to re-gravel the road again. So obviously, you must have roads that are resilient, that are actually capable of, dealing with the climate change which we are facing, because we are facing that as well. So I thought I should also touch on those things. But also we had a meeting, for instance, with Amakhosi, Inkosi Khoza of Entseleni and Inkosi Mthembu of Ebathenjini, where the killings, for instance, happened. I think in 1 month, about 12 people were killed in these 2 areas, of which some of them were women. There are actions we are trying to take. The unfortunate part is that so this thing renders uhulumeni noma estate useless. I sometimes even say kusho ukuthi somlomo abasiboni labantu ababulala abantu, basitshela nje ukuthi aninamsebenzi walutho. So but through the intervention of senior management and also the what we call the security department of us, subs, intelligence and so on, we'll be looking at options with the provincial government to say how best can we partner together to deal with these issues, and also to ensure that our police stations have got resources. Because you go to different police stations, you probably find 10, 20, 15 police vans standing there. Some of them don't have tires, some of them overturned. Even sometimes when you meet a police van, you can see it doesn't have a light. Police officers themselves are not enough. Communities have multiplied over the years. I think successful governments, Councillor Potter, you'll correct me, and Speaker. Successful governments to combat crime, they invest more of their budgets on security and defense. I'm not by this suggesting that we must act like China, act like the USA, and so on and so forth, or even act like Zimbabwe here, because Mr. Mugabe stayed for a long time in power because he took care of his army and police. But I'm trying to say what we will be doing in December depend on whether our environments where we stay is safe, if you look at the things. Because if we don't address security issues, I might be dead in December. So the plan which I'm having or thinking to execute in December might find me in the grave. Only a planning will be left because crime has multiplied and is multiplying on a daily basis. Even here in the Richards Bay, if you travel in the areas of Mzingazi and so on, you remember a top CEO of RPM was once assassinated somewhere around here in Merensia. These things threaten even the economy, existing economy, and those who still want to come and invest. Who will invest in an unsafe environment? Nobody. You will probably not even come here for tourism interest. You won't, if the area is unsafe. So it is our duty as government around to make sure that the environment which our people stay is actually safe.
Thank you, Honorable Member. That was my food. Several cool colleagues.
No, but
Thank you so much.
but really there was nothing wrong in calling them comrades.
So we are cool comrades and allow time for one-on-one. Mayor, the EMC has asked inmates to help you now that we're going to begin at 7:30. The back using the car. Go back at the past 6, then we'll be late. And then maybe that the other comrades as well may have the mayor or anything. And also there's food at the back. The mayor has prepared something for us to snack on there quietly while the interview. The one-on-ones are ongoing that side. Quietly, don't tell her
Is that not being recorded?
No.
Thank you. Where are we doing the ENCA? Councillor Porter, thank you very much.